Hello and welcome to Views on News. I am Jawad Tehami. Pakistan is once again faced with the menace of terrorism. A deadly suicide bombing in a mosque at the police lines area in Peshawar claimed 101 lives and the entire nation was shocked. In another incident, the armed militants belonging to Band Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan tried to storm in a police station in Makarwal area in Miawali, which was of course repulsed by the police as they were alerted before time about the movement in the hilly terrain of that particular area. Now a grand counter-terrorism operation has been launched in that particular area. Now, when we talk about the Peshawar attack, regarding that, the IGKP held a presser and said that the sacrifices of the martyrs won't go in vain. At the same time, he urged that the nation should give a healing touch to the police force, which is badly required at this moment in this time of distress. At the same time, you saw Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif questioned the performance of the previous KP government regarding building the capacity of the counter-terrorism in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province, questioning that where those funds which were meant for the building counter-terrorism capacity of the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa police had been spent by the then KP government. At the same time, Foreign Office spokesperson during her weekly briefing has said that Pakistan expects cooperation from the interim Afghan government when it comes to the probe of the Peshawar attack. At the same time, we have seen China has extended its support to Pakistan during their separate calls to Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif. Chinese president as well as Chinese premier said that China is willing to cooperate with Pakistan in the counter-terrorism domain. We'll be talking about this resurgence of terrorism in various parts of the country and what needs to be done in this regard. And for that, we are honored to have been joined in the studio by Dr. Syed Kaleem Imam. He's former IGP Punjab. Dr. Imam, thank you very much for your time, for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. And at the same time, on Skype, we are being joined by Lieutenant General retired Moinuddin Haider. He is former Federal Interior Minister. General Haider, thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that. Now, let me begin the discussion with you, Dr. Imam. As during today's presser, IGKP has urged the nation to give the police force in this distressing time a healing touch. How important is that one at this time when the entire nation needs to be united against a common threat?
Again, once again, may Allah bless the departed soul, the souls of the martyrs, and my prayers for the bereaved family. Let me tell you, Mozzam is a very professional officer and he has served in various parts of the country. He's a professional and he knows his job. He's very right when he's saying an incident have taken place. They are investigating, they are trying to find out what has happened. They are also trying to find out if there are more people in the town. And here we are mourning and in a tragic state, and then we see a war on Twitter, on social media, on net, very insensitive statements. And the insensitive statements are some very responsible people. They're forgetting that there are people who are hurt, they're still crying, they have still tears, the children have lost their fathers, and they are making statements which is just contrary to morality, and it's absolutely wrong to do that. Having said that, Mozzam is absolutely right, let them investigate, and all sort of stories is coming up. As I was coming to you, there was so many cock and the bull story, and people are just trying to add fuel to the fire, I don't know, some people are sadist or cynic, they love doing it, For me right now, also being the secretary of the Association for Former Inspector General of Police, we also issued a statement yesterday. The President, Mr. Afzal Ali Shigri, issued a statement where we are with the bereaved family, we are with the KP police, and also urging the government, to provide resources, further build their capacity, as well as motivate them in this difficult time.
Right. General Haider, your take regarding giving that very healing touch to the police force. Of course, police forces had been on the front line when it comes to the counter-terrorism in Pakistan. How important that one is to keep giving that healing touch in this distressing time to police force, to let them have their morale up?
Yes, I think it's very important to meet all their needs and requirements, and of course to boost their morale But at the same time, we have to urge them to be very alert, because before this major incident and very tragic incident where we lost 101 lives, there were warning shots by the terrorists attacking various police stations, police vans, and other posts. So that was a good enough sign that these terrorists have become very active, and they should have evolved procedures to see that their defense becomes more effective, and not such a good SHO creates his own intelligence network in the area to give him earlier information of such like elements. So whereas I am very strong supporter of the fact that we have to equip the police, we have to give them all the wherewithal and all the equipment and funds and cameras and etc. etc. We have to give them. At the same time, we have to ask them to retrain themselves, realign themselves, and to become more alert at the same time. So that they only, because we look up to the police, they not only are supposed to safeguard us and the public, but they should also safeguard themselves effectively against such terrorists. And terrorists cannot ever defeat state forces, and we should know that. And they are in no way better trained than our police forces, nor they have a good mission. The mission of the police is to safeguard the public and life, property. But the terrorists, of course, is a very bad act they have done. And whatever their grievances to take 101 lives, I think is nothing to do with religion, nothing to do with Islam. And this is pure terrorism, and it should be seen as such, and very strong action should be taken against them.
Right, Dr. Imam, the IGKP has also urged not to go for presenting the conspiracy theories. Now, these conspiracy theories, whose purpose does these theories serve?
Well, there are a lot of agents in the society who seems, or wants to disturb the status quo. They don't want to see the progress. And secondly, of course, the hostile agencies, they play a very important role in this. Then we also see the deprived class joining it, at times. So it's so important that we improve our governance. We improve the system of how things is to be done in a transparent manner, things being accessible, and creating a perception, where people believe in what people are saying. This is a fifth generation warfare which is going on, which means disruption, deception, and deceive, continuously say things and not calling spade a spade and giving it a different color, What Mr. General Moin is also my teacher and mentor, he has rightly pointed out a thing, Having said this, it is so important we introspect ourselves. What were we doing, what were the gaps, and what we should be doing. That is very, very important. And I've always been urging, requesting, rather I would like to implore now, that for heaven's sake, stop interfering in police professionalism. Go for the rule of law. And this government earlier, they created National Internal Security Policy, which was very comprehensive. But again, subsequently, over the time, the comprehensive response plan was not effectively enforced on the ground. We see 20 military operations, the armed forces officers laying down their life, the law enforcers laying down their life, eradicating this menace, but we see them coming back again. Why? Because we did not take lot of non-kinetic measures which were supposed to be taken, already mentioned in the security policy. So we need to introspect and we need to audit what we are doing. And let's hire professionals in our organization. Let's post professionals in the organization. You see, they are going to protect you. They are going to protect your life, property, and honor. So if you have a mediocre, doing a job for you, you are not going to get the end state that you are looking for.
Right. General Haider, during today's presser, the IGKP has said that we can clearly say through all the evidence that Jamaatul Ahrar TTP and a hostile intelligence agency working against the national security of Pakistan is behind the Peshawar attack. When we talk about this hostile intelligence agency, we've seen the role of peace spoilers in the past. There were a couple of presses by the Interior Minister as well as the State Minister for Foreign Affairs pointing fingers towards the state sponsorship of terrorism from India. Now, this particular hostile agency, as Dr. Imam has also said, that it is the fifth generation war underway, and the conspiracy theories being hashed also relate to that. What needs to be done when it comes to dealing with the nefarious designs of such hostile intelligence agencies?
Yes, this is true that India will never miss a chance to damage Pakistan, to drive a wedge between the public and our law enforcing agencies and the armed forces. And it will never lose a chance to demoralize our public, which is already in trouble because of the weak economy and high prices. So this is a new dimension which has been introduced by them to further spread despondency in the country. And I have no doubt that Ahrar from Hamman agency or any splinter group or TTP, whatever, they will use all their money and influence and intelligence expertise to use the my experience Pakistan police forces is that if you give them independence of action to execute their job professionally, give them the necessary equipment and resources, they always succeed.
Right. Dr. Imam, now, please go ahead.
3 years as the Interior Minister. So we have to make sure that once we had executed this plan, National Security Plan, after the APS tragedy, we had these organizations like CTD, in which we put best police officers, we had put army intelligence supporting them, and they produced extremely good results. And they recovered all the area with intelligence-based operations. They were ready to eliminate all those splinter groups, and peace was brought here. But now, after the Afghan, Taliban, these fellows have found their way into Pakistan, and they are not behaving like good citizens, right? And we have to take care of them. So we have to strengthen CTD, we have to strengthen our intelligence system, we have to strengthen our police forces. And you know, you see what is going on, being raided, and ex-minister was handcuffed today and put in court, and police is going here and there, looking for waste of effort. Let the police do their professional work and life of Pakistanis. And that should be their priority now. We should not be using them politically and squander our resources and their efforts.
Right. Dr. Imam, today is during the weekly cabinet meeting, the Prime Minister, the agenda was the resurgence of terrorism in Pakistan. Now, he has questioned the performance of the previous KP government, the funds they were allocated since 2010. He questioned where those funds were spent, which were actually meant to be spent for building the capacity of the counter-terrorism departments.
Well, you know, the amount which is being mentioned, I've been IG Punjab and IG Sindh. Even that is not even our annual budget. You know, that's a huge amount, and yes, one needs to audit what happened to that amount. That is something very important. But coming back that, and I keep emphasizing that it's primarily the job of police to fight on street and do the tactical sort of work. Armed forces and the civil armed forces are always there, and they have much larger duty to perform. The police, their capacity needs to be built. When we talk about building capacity of police, we are talking about policemen at the police station level. He has so much information, like the General Saab said. The SHO, he knows what is happening around. Now we also have special branch, we also have IB, we also have ISI and MI. So let's create a fusion, where we are getting this information and try to analyze the intelligence which is coming out.
That comes under the ambit of a better coordination among various prongs of the security apparatus in Pakistan. Now, when we talk specifically about building the capacity of the police force, there are certain areas, the funds which have been mentioned by Prime Minister, which were allocated to the KP government at that time. There was strengthening the CTD, ammo procurement, training, recruitment of cadres, and improving the intelligence gathering capabilities. Would you like to shed a little bit of light on these specific points?
Well, if the amount was given, an audit should definitely be carried out independently. But my emphasis still remains, for example, when you have this appointments at the various cadres in the police, post the substantive officer and those positions, For example, in Punjab and Sindh and many other places, the appointment is of a DIG, additional IG, and you will see a DIG working over there. Even in CTD, you have to be very serious. You need to have a senior officer over there. Post the professionals, who have spent their lifetime trying to acquire the experience and have delivered in the past, you need to post them at the best place. And you also need to ensure that their capacity is continuously built. Role of NECTA comes in, to mention about the trends, to mention about the patterns, to mention about what sort of information is being generated. Is that being trickled down? Or is the capacity being built? I keep on saying we have policy, we have strategy. The only thing we lack is will, diligence and dedication.
So what key areas do you think could be immediately dealt with in order to build the capacity?
Well, leadership. You should have a leadership which has a vision, which can actually see how to run an organization. And they are not supposed to get involved in the technical part of the policing. Secondly, all the various segments of the police department, like CTD, like special branch, like investigation branch, like say the training component, you need to give them resources. You need to ensure they know what are some of the best practices. You need to know, which is something very important, I would also say, after action review, and what were the lessons learned. You see, we had a Bannu attack, we had so many attacks in the past. Did anybody come up, well, this is what they were doing and this is what happened, so let's not do it next time. So things are hushed up for unknown reasons, I would like that if the leadership, their capacity is built, they must try to analyze each and every incident and then learn from it so that it's not repeated. We have these incidents and we are able to deal with it, but then we forget it or we don't share it, For example, even in 9/11, they say that they had information that there were a couple of guys who have trained, but that information was passed and was not sent down, and that became a principal reason why how the attack took place.
Right. General Haider, when Prime Minister questions where those funds which were allocated to the KP government were spent, so is there any sort of a mechanism, the accountability in that regard could be done?
Of course, certainly. And this amount, he says, has been given over a number of years. So we have to see for what purpose it was given. I think it may include that there were certain development plans to be carried out in the erstwhile FATA area, which are now amalgamated into KPK government. And there were certain development schemes we thought will bring peace and comfort to the people of that area, and that they will not get involved with the terrorists and they will get involved with the development, making schools and making dispensaries and making water schemes, etc., etc. So I am not sure, because there is a lot of political point scoring, giving a figure but not saying what is the breakdown, what year it was given, for what purpose it was given. So certainly that audit can take place, and always government can ask. And I am quite sure that this is done every year, every financial year. Audit is done. There is a mechanism in the province Auditor General, and there is a Auditor General of Pakistan, which oversees such expenditure. So this can certainly be seen where this amount has been spent.
Right, we're joined by another participant on the phone line. We are honored to have been joined by Mr. Parvez Jamil. He's a senior journalist. Mr. Mir, thank you very much for taking time out for Views on News tonight. Really appreciate that. You will definitely watch the presser by IGKP. He has urged the nation to give a healing touch to the police force in this distressing time, and the sacrifices of the martyrs are not going to go in vain. At the same time, he has also urged not to present the conspiracy theories. As a senior journalist, how to deal with this one? During earlier discussion, Dr. Imam has also said that this is the time of fifth generation warfare. So what needs to be done in order to curb the very conspiracy theory hatching regarding this particular common threat Pakistan is faced with?
Well, first of all, the two things which the IG has said, makes a lot of sense. This is a moment of not, criticizing each other, but this is a moment of trying to reform each other, restructure our strategy. We are very poor in a counter-terrorism situation. There is no country in the world, where you go and, the guard comes out and says, hello, and, shakes your hand. Now, that is a basic, fault all around the country. The guards, no matter whether they're private, whether they're officials or anyone, they tend to be, so friendly. So, and this is one of the reasons the terrorists take advantage. Now, these are the lines we need to be addressing. Yes, there have been lapses. Yes, there have been, a lot of sort of irregularities. But it doesn't mean, we keep on criticizing each other. All we need to do is reform, restructure, and re-strategize. And that is how it has to be. And we need to have those kind of people, those kind of men and women who do not come in these services just because they need a job. They need to be coming in because they need to have that passion to do that job. And that is how we need to be progressing. Yes, there will be terrorism, we've seen these acts. I mean, after APS, this is the next biggest thing we've seen in Pakistan. So instead of lamenting and crying, I think we need to be standing up to it and fighting together, as a nation, and let the world know, because the world knows whatever we've done, they've always labeled us that, we harbor terrorists, we do all kinds of things, which promote terrorism. Now, this is a prime example for the current government to highlight it. Look, we ourselves are victims. We've already lost 80,000 people in this war on terror. So today, I think this is another thing, but we do not highlight it. We need to be highlighting and telling the people and informing all the embassies based in Pakistan, look, this is a sign of a country which is a victim itself. So please come along and support us, help us. And that is the way forward. Unfortunately, what we do is, we make it into a political sort of a drama. Oh, that government hasn't done this government hasn't done this, and, so on and forth. So that needs to be, put aside. We should stand up. I totally agree with the IG. We should stand up and, work as a national unit to fight terrorism, which is now emanating again, first in Peshawar and then, of course, here in Miawali. So we need to be, my solution is to stand firm, fight it, but together.
Right. Mr. Mir, you highlighted that when it comes to the international cooperation in the counterterrorism domain, since Pakistan has sacrificed a lot, being the frontline ally in the war on terror for years, now there is an expression of support by the Chinese president and Chinese premier. Also, they gave their condolences to the bereaved families of the Peshawar attack, and also said that China is willing to cooperate with Pakistan in counterterrorism domain. Earlier, we saw a similar sort of support coming from the US also. So specifically talking about China, how do you think that Pakistan can expect such a cooperation in this domain from China in particular?
I think we should expect, cooperation from all countries, from everyone, wherever, we can get assistance. And what we need to do is we have to upgrade our, our apparatus because we do not need to be fighting, because the terrorists have far more advanced weaponry, they have far more advanced technology than what we have. We need to be spending more money in fighting counter-terrorism. We need to be upgrading our intelligence agencies. We need to be going really right up to the times. And yes, of course, if China is coming along and is going to help us, because Chinese have themselves been victim of terrorism as much as the Americans have. So I think this is a time where we need to be, our officials need to be sitting with other international experts and chalking out a plan how to fight this menace, which is again emanating, and that can only be done by a dialogue between our friendly countries. So China is one of them, and of course the United States is another one of them. So I think we need to be sitting down and talking, because do not forget, you have an adversary amongst all of this, and that is something, I don't want to name that adversary, but we need to be talking to them as well, because look, if they do not come to terms, it will go and hit them in their own territory. So I think
right,
the best thing is upgrading ourselves.
Right, Mr. Beer, the Foreign Office spokesperson has also said that we expect cooperation from the interim Afghan government when it comes to this Peshawar probe. A lot of expectations were associated with the kind of role and responsibility the Afghan Taliban have got to do as per their commitments to the international community. So how do you think Pakistani authorities should be engaging with them after this horrific incident in Peshawar?
Well, I mean, this is a big event which has taken place. But let's not forget, what has been happening, in the line of control, you can call it, or in that fenced-off border, where we've seen Afghan troops coming into, and firing on the Pakistani troops. So Afghanistan has got to be, getting their, house in order, because they've got to be absolutely firm in what they want to do. Do they want to be friends with us, or do they want to, encourage these little pockets of dissidency? And that is something, again, which is a focal point of, let's say, conference, talks, or, meetings with Afghanistan. But let's not forget that we have to work hand in hand with Afghanistan, and Afghanistan has to work more, in particular, hand in hand with us, because Afghanistan is a major victim of terrorism. But they cannot be, encouraging these pockets, and by pockets I mean people who have no identity. I mean, they're not a state, they're not a group, they're just a bunch of terrorists, who happen to have been funding or been funded by somebody, which again needs to be investigated. Who's funding them? Who's fanning them to come out and create issues in Pakistan? I mean, 104-5 people killed just like that. I mean, that's not a joke. I mean, that's absolutely not a joke, and we need to be taking firm action. The way they come along and ruthlessly kill innocent people, innocent bystanders in Pakistan, let me tell you, there's a time coming, I've been very vocal about it, that these people should be hanged publicly to let the people know that this will be the result, and there's no going back on it. So I think we need to be showing more teeth rather than, just lamenting that, we're very sorry, condolences and all that. That's all part of, this methodology which the terrorists use. So we've got to eliminate them. We cannot negotiate with them. We cannot talk to them. And at the end of the day, like I've always said, we've got to be sitting together. All political parties in Pakistan have to be on one page, on one book, to fight this menace. Because if you don't do it now, it will be affecting future governments and future, let's say, the image of the country.
Mr. Parvez Jamil Mir, a senior journalist, thank you very much for joining in with us at Views on News tonight. We really appreciate your time. Now, Dr. Imam, coming to that grand operation which has been launched in Makarwal area in Miawali, how crucial is to secure that particular belt of 300 to 400 kilometers, and how difficult is that terrain over there? And what are the challenges for the police force there?
It's really difficult, and it's no easy job, the people are out there. But the Punjab police is doing a good job. Again, Usman is a professional police officer, and I'm sure he's going to handle it. Just adding to what Parvez has added, we need assistance. We need assistance, but we also need to assist ourselves now. It's time for introspection, When we are talking about charter of economy, can we talk about charter of governance? Can we talk about charter of rule of law? Mr. Shigri has written an article in Dawn today where he has said senior police leadership needs to get together. Like answering, almost going back to your first question, National Police Management Board. There are 15 police organizations in Pakistan. They need to have an immediate meeting, see what are the challenges which is coming up, how they can share information, and what is the best way to move forward. It's time. We need support from the international community. China, UK, and USA have been providing us assistance. But how much receptive we are to ourselves, how much resources we are doling out to the law enforcers, how much priority we are giving to them. You see, right now, I keep on telling the intelligence agencies and the police organization, focus on your job. Get away from politics. We need you on the ground to do what you have been trained for. The moment you distract and start doing something else, you are defocusing. You are not doing your actual job. So let's have this National Police Management Board meeting at the earliest. At the same time, make NECTA effective. You'll be surprised that NECTA has about 700 or 800 sanctions 10, but it's just working on around 15%. There's 150 people who are working over there. So you can imagine how serious we are. I was going through the National Action Plan today, and you'll be surprised that there are points that we achieved, But the most important was reforming the criminal justice system. But it was the last in the agenda, and nothing much has been done in that. All these things that we are talking about, have to be gradually addressed. And it can be only addressed if you see the root causes of why things are happening. You may go for pruning and take some kinetic action and some interim measures. But the most important is find out the root cause. Why people are being radicalized, why they are moving towards extremism, around 30,000 madrasas and more. 16,000.
There was one point in the National Action Plan about the registration of the madaris and seminaries also. What about the curriculum? Because there was a statement by the banned TTP chief also when there was a fatwa by the ulama of the KP after their back-to-back attacks against the security forces. They said we'd been trying to do whatever is being taught in the seminaries. If we are lacking, give us more guidance. But there was a fatwa clearly denouncing what they were doing. So what needs to be done in that regard when it comes to the curriculum and seminaries?
State needs to streamline them. This is what was all about. This is when we talk about madrasa, it was let me see.
Point number 8.
Point number 8. It was point number 8. Out of 30,000 madrasas, we have almost registered 16,000. So you need to see what curriculum is being taught there. You need to see what khutbahs are being given in a mosque. What are they focusing on? You see, when I met lot of madrasas, the seminary heads, I say, what are the future of these children? They say most of them will end up being Imam. So that you need to give them technical education, technical expertise. So they go into the society and do different sort of other work also, So we need to understand that we make a policy and then we don't adhere to it. That is the saddest part,
Let me take General Haider's point on this. When we talk about registration of seminaries, the point number 8 of the National Action Plan, how crucial is that one, and what about the curriculum? As Dr. Imam has given certain suggestions, what do you have to say about it?
Yes, I think we have been at it for last 20-25 years on this issue. Right from General Parvez time, registration of madrasas and having a look at their curriculum and a dialogue with them, with all the 5 madrasa heads and Wafaqul Madaris. And now Mufti Taqi Usmani, he has given a very clear fatwa that anybody who wages war against the state by attacking its people, its public, its police station or whatever, is a great, great crime. And he is a baghi and bagawat and he should be hanged. I mean, he has given it clearly. There is no reason, whatever you are being taught or learning in madrasa, there is no need, there is no reason to go and kill innocent people. So I don't think so that this madrasa's education is really producing these people. This mindset is introduced later on by people who pick up people from them and telling them to give them military training and make them commandos or, some adventurism. But normally in most of the madrasas, I think we have seen the curriculum. It is not actually feeding as such. And there was, of course, in the Afghan Jihad, there is no doubt that certain madrasas were providing manpower to the Taliban to fight the Soviets, and it was encouraged by the government of Pakistan, it was encouraged by United States. So I think we should continue. This was a point in FATF also, that all the masjid chanda boxes and donation boxes, and they have to be monitored, that how much money is coming, how that money is being spent. It was also a point in FATF to have a audit of their money. But I want to say a few things about this foreign assistance. Like you have said, China and other people have shown sympathy with what has happened. But let me tell you that these countries, China, America, Germany, UK, Japan, they're all forthcoming. And if you ask them for assistance in the field of intelligence, in the field of equipment, in the field of training, expertise, from us, and they are ready to send you experts, and sometime, of course, help you with material which is required to collect intelligence or to do investigations, like we are doing, or to other counter-terrorism equipment which they are using. So they're all ready, but we have to knock their door. We have to ask them. We have to give them a list. We have to ask them to please come forward, and they will come forward. But let our politicians not use the police to arrest people for nothing, to waste their efforts. Let us not have politically motivated postings. Let the professionals be posted to the such sensitive post to lead the police forces and given a free hand to execute their work professionally. So, and of course, necessary funding is very important. This will help raise their morale, their training, and they'll be more effective force.
Right, General Haider, you already mentioned that the international powers are forthcoming when we require the assistance in the counterterrorism domain. Now, a recent development, there is a grand counterterrorism operation that has been launched in the Makawa area in Mia Valley. Now, how crucial is this better coordination among the inter-provincial law enforcement agencies when it comes to the securing of inter-provincial borders?
I'm quite sure they should be cooperating, and they should be on this matter, and also by the armed forces and whatever is requirement. But rather than covering a large area of so many 100 kilometers, more important, I think, in my aspect, is to have intelligence-based operations with developing good intelligence and finding out their hideouts, because it is unlike that situation where Sawat and Fata and Malakan division and certain settled districts were lost to the terrorists, and the writ of the government was challenged there, and no state forces could go there. This is not the situation now. These people are not so well organized, and they are not so strong that there should be widespread operation like that. They have to be small, smart, intelligence-based operations to pinpoint and to eliminate them, in my view.
Well, right, Dr. Imam, your take regarding this, and how crucial is this better inter-provincial coordination among the law enforcement? As we have seen, there is a grand operation that has been launched there, as we were already discussing in Makarwal area in Mia Valley.
That's very crucial. Primarily, police or law enforcement works on the intelligence. Without intelligence, you cannot move ahead. The better information you collect, the more responsive action you will be able to take. That is why they have come up with the term evidence-based policing or intelligence-based actions. CTD actually carries that out. CTD Punjab and CTD Sindh and KP. They only go when they have intelligence, and to avoid collateral damage and to ensure that they get the people they are looking for. Having said that, I would say severity doesn't solve the problem, severity of law. You can have as many laws as you want. Certainty law is what actually makes a difference. We need to take a pledge, that what is wrong will not be supported. What is bad will not be supported. People who have done something which has caused damage to others, they will be taken to task. No appeasement. Don't live in denial. You can't bosom the serpent. If you do that, he is going to come back to you. And like I said, set the house in order. It's so important that we are asking for assistance and people do come in response to us. But how much assistance we are providing to each other, respective governments. I'm talking about all the governments which have come over the years. All have contributed significantly. The Prime Minister's statement is very laudable, when he said, let's have a political warfare somewhere, sometime, some other time. Come, let's talk, let's be on one page and deal with this monster which is coming up and which has caused this disaster, and has martyred so many of our officers, At the same time, I would say that what is more important, another thing which is important is community policing. You need to ensure, like you said, the operation which is going on in Mianwali area, the community needs to be involved, which means engagement, partnership, which means not only empowering them but giving back them the power. Every man is a cop in a society. You are a cop, I said this earlier also. Everybody has to ensure that any illegality, irregularity, any felony which is going on, they need to go after it. They need to inform. In America and West, say, see something, say something. So people have to provide, also have to cooperate.
So, Dr. Imam, one last question regarding revamping of the criminal justice system is, I guess, the point number 20 of the National Action Plan. What possible suggestions would you like to give to the authorities how to do that?
When the National Action Plan was being drafted and when I came to know about it, I and many others, we actually raised a lot of voice, I say, how can you make criminal justice, reforming criminal justice system, the last point, it should have been number 1 point. When we talk about criminal justice system, we are talking about police, we are talking about prosecution, we are talking about courts, we are talking about prisons, You need to coordinate, you need to build their capacity, you need to make laws which can be implemented and which produces result in the end, You need to bring a synergy among them. We know what's happening in police. There's a capacity issue, there's a resources issue. We know what's happening in prosecution. There's a plight of prosecution, and how do they prosecute.
Relates to the procedural matters in the court of law
Procedures,
regarding the terrorist cases, right?
The terrorist cases, the capacity issues, the funding issues. Go to the court. Is the court understanding what prosecution and police is saying? And is police understanding what court is requiring them to do? And getting hold of these people is very important, that the correction method start, mainstreaming them back, reforming them starts again at the level of the prison, the correction as they call it. So this is so, in Pakistan, almost we are short by 25% of judges, Overall, if you see the strength, If you see the prisons, again you will see overhoused prisons. If you see the police, you will see them understaffed. And most of them are involved in security or protocol duties, Like being said, they need to focus on the professional part of their job.
Right. General Haider, your take regarding revisiting the criminal justice system in Pakistan that happens to the point number 20 of the National Action Plan.
My friend Dr. Kaleem Imam is very much perturbed to see the criminal justice system reforms at the bottom and given a low priority. Well, I think as far as the politicians are concerned, this is their thinking and this is their priority. They don't have the will to reform criminal justice system. I am seeing it for last 25, 30 years. United Nations, World Bank, everybody is trying to help you to reform your criminal justice system. They are saying upgrade your courts and upgrade your prisons. They are helping you. Sometimes they offer you money, sometimes for training for other purposes. But this is last priority of our politicians. What suits them that police should be.
In this regard, sir?
Well, I mean, everybody knows what needs to be done. our prisons, as he has said, are overcrowded, and every district is supposed to have a prison, but new districts are formed with no prisons, and prisoners are in the other district, and they are brought for trial to the other district, and in between they are attacked by the prisoners go scot free. Such things are going on. And secondly, the strengthening of prosecution system, the prosecution service. I think in Punjab they had recruited a large number of prosecutors, but their quality, of course, has to be seen. So it is an integrated system, justice system, police reforms. They don't suit our politicians. They don't like. They want police to do all their wrong work and political activities rather than doing the professional work, and that is the basic problem with the police forces. So, so local government and police reforms and the criminal justice system has never been a priority, unfortunately, from our politicians. This is my.
Lieutenant General retired Moinuddin Haider, former Federal Interior Minister. Thank you very much for joining in at Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that, and we were honored to have been joined in the studio by Dr. Syed Kaleem, Imam, former IGP Punjab. Thank you very much for your time, also for being with us on Views on News tonight. We really appreciate that, and with that, we come to the end of today's Views on News. Till the next one, take good care of yourselves.